You're watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.
A growing number of leaders say they're seeing a rise in what's being called the bare minimum employee. Many of you know what I'm talking about. Workers doing just enough to get by. But is this really about declining work ethic or something deeper happening inside today's workplace? Joining us now is Dr. Sherry Yellen, best-selling author, executive coach, and founder of the Yellen Group, where she works with executive leaders and teams to improve performance and engagement. Dr. Yellen, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show.
It's great to be here.
Sure. So let's start out in the beginning here. When you hear the term bare minimum employee, what's really driving this trend?
Well, it's triggering a lot because I think the key skill right now is adaptability. I think we've all got to take a step back and take a look at some things that are causing us to shift some of our beliefs. Some of the old ways are definitely having to adapt because there's a lot of changes in our world right now. When you think about the economy, you've got a new generation coming in, and you kind of have this blend of old beliefs of just head down, do what I tell you to do, or work hard, or work 80 hours a week. And then you have this other, different schools of thought of we want a work-life balance. We want to actually enjoy our life while we're living it, not wait till we retire to enjoy it. So adaptability is the key leadership skill. Yeah. And I think what you're seeing is two sides of things. It's going to require certainly leaders to step up, maybe in ways that might be uncomfortable, or maybe ways they haven't before, of setting really clear expectations. I think we have maybe assumed that the different generation coming in is going to have the same beliefs around work that the last generation had, and they don't.
That's right.
So it's really easy for the leaders to blame or to criticize maybe a lazy or unmotivated employee, where the employee's perspective is haven't maybe being given clear guidelines or clear direction, or they're also saying that there's no loyalty on that side. So this idea of loyalty and trust and adaptability may be more important than ever.
Yeah, good point. And when you say loyalty, do you mean from the employer to the employee, or the employee to the employer?
I would say on both sides of that. Yeah. Because you're seeing so many trends of people being let go of definitely, we're hearing for every one position that's open, there's 100 resumes or more for that. We're hearing complaints around if your resume hasn't been run through AI and it doesn't have the keywords, you're not even considered. So it's almost like which is also causing the requirement for adaptability with the increase in AI. But with all of that, I think it's a calling for us to become maybe more human than ever, more authentic, more personable, and than we've ever been.
Right. Many point to the differences being generational. Baby boomers versus Generation X versus millennials versus Generation Z. Is there validity in that, in the sense that a baby boomer was brought up in business in a much different way than maybe a millennial or Generation Z is? So there's this huge disconnect that just creates a tremendous amount of frustration on both sides, right?
On both sides. And part of adaptability is being able to unlearn as much as we learn. Right. I think really underlying that is staying curious. So, for example, our life experiences shape our beliefs, which then shape the actions that we take or we don't. Sure. And then that delivers a result. What we have to remember is that Gen Z in particular had very different life experiences. Right. and that have shaped different beliefs. And that doesn't make them wrong necessarily.
Right.
It makes them different. So in order for us to close this gap, which by the way is very frustrating for a lot of our clients right now, it is very frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
But in order for us to close this gap, instead of making it wider and judging and labeling, before we do that, let's get curious and let's try to better understand and maybe even be willing to let go of some of our long-held beliefs. Their beliefs might actually be healthier. In some ways, they may be more brain-friendly. We may be more productive
Right.
by not working 80 hours a week.
But in terms of managers or leaders allowing that to happen, it also means that they've got to look internally and say, wait a minute, maybe this millennial, maybe this Generation Z is on to something. Maybe we are working our people too hard, or maybe there isn't a work-life balance, or maybe there isn't much of a cause here that we're all working towards. But it takes that individual to look internally and also say to themselves, wow, these people could be on to a better way, which means then that I'm not doing something right as the owner of the company, the leader of the company, which is hard for a lot of people to admit to, right?
Oh, it is so hard. It works against what your brain wants so bad.
Right.
Your brain wants the familiar so badly. But we have a phrase we use with our leaders, which is before you look out the window, let's look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And let's ask different questions, even of ourselves, like, what is this showing up to teach me? How, in fact, might this be a better way? For example, some great research showing that a 4-day work week actually not only made people happier and more engaged, but actually increased revenue. The reason for that is because there was a lot less time wasted. People were more focused. There was meetings were more efficient. So before we toss it out or before we judge and give it a big label, let's get curious. Maybe there is a better way.
Yeah. To be open, you got to be open-minded as today's
You have
leaders,
to be.
right?
I think if anything, at the core of this time that we're in with so much uncertainty and a lot of change, that it's a call to really dial up your curiosity and be willing to maybe let go of some beliefs that may have served us in the past, but they might not serve us moving forward, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. From a business standpoint, how does this kind of disengagement impact performance and productivity over time?
Dramatically. So a lot of great research to show that, a higher engaged team delivers better results. I mean, there's no doubt, there's no mystery anymore that engagement is directly linked to the bottom line. The question becomes, how do we create a culture of engagement? And who's the number one influence in creating that culture of engagement? It's the leader.
That's right.
It's the leader.
Yeah, no question about it. What are companies getting wrong in how they're responding to this, and how can those reactions actually make things worse?
Well, the interesting thing about your brain is when it's under threat, one of the things that we will immediately see is people getting defensive.
Yep.
It's us against them.
Right.
We get overly committed to being right. We're definitely not curious, just the opposite. It's like your brain goes into a tunnel and you can't even hear a new perspective or see a new innovative idea, even if it shows up.
Right.
So whenever you're seeing signs of that, that should be an immediate red flag that rather than getting more defensive, how could we better collaborate? How could we better understand? And sometimes it really is as easy as asking different questions.
Right.
Like, what meaning am I giving this? What meaning do I want to give this?
Yeah.
How might this actually be working for us
Right.
rather than against us? So sometimes just a simple question can flip and reframe what seems to be, this divide that we can't seem to cross.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because you see so many scenarios in business where there is just a misunderstanding in some cases of scenarios like this that end up costing that associate their job or that leader, their job. Sometimes the owner of the company says, "Hey, I don't like the way that you communicated," or this one of your team members came to me and said X, Y, and Z about you, and all of a sudden this discommunication or disengagement starts to become a major issue that costs somebody their position with the company, right?
It's incredibly costly, and especially as you get into more specialized positions. It's very costly. But the meaning of the word communicate is to connect.
Right.
And if you haven't connected, you haven't communicated.
Right.
And just because you said it doesn't mean they heard it. Or just because you intended to say something in one way, what really matters is how was that experienced? How did that land with that other person?
Right.
And paying attention to those signs are in the culture of whether or not you're connecting. Is your group collaborating? Are you seeing engagement? Are you seeing people coming forward with new ideas and speaking up? Or are you seeing silence and you're seeing silos and you're seeing people actually disengage and you feel like you're pulling everyone along? That's not a hopeless case.
Yeah.
It's just showing you signs that making some small shifts in your approach could make a big difference in your results.
That's right. How much did COVID play in all of this, if any? I mean, certainly with Generation Z, a lot of the kids that are coming out of schools, they were going to school during all of this. And then you go back a few years for kids that were in college. My daughter happened to be one of them that was dealing with COVID, couldn't go to classes, had to work from her dorm or what have you. I mean, that generation has been through a lot in their education during COVID. Did that play a role in any of this?
So we know that it did. And even going back further than that, when you think about the influence of social media on this generation, you and I cannot comprehend the differences of being exposed to things before you probably needed to be, or being compared with the rest of the world. Then you have COVID. But even those that were in the workplace, when you were able to, you had a little bit more freedom, and when you were working remotely and then coming back to the office. And for a lot of people, that meant you don't trust me. Like that, the remote work versus in office was less about collaboration. It was more about whether or not I was trusted, which goes back to that human connection and creating that culture of trust. So there were so many factors that came into play. It's made a tremendous impact, not only on the new generation coming in, but for a lot of people to reevaluate how you worked and what is productivity. And is productivity just an hour of my time? Or is it actually the product or the idea that I produce? Because most people today, what they produce and the value they add is thought and ideas. And it's not widgets anymore. We're not in the industrial age. And so when you think about what's the best environment to produce the best thoughts, it isn't necessarily the value is equal to an hour of my time.
Right. And then you've got remote work workplace, remote workforces right now. That's an entirely another show that we could do on that. But that plays a role in this as well, right? You've got the baby boomer generation, Generation X, that says, what is this whole work from home thing? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
You got to be in the office. You got to be here. When, Generation Z and millennials are saying, not so fast. I can get more work done from my office at home than I ever could, from my office at the company. And, you've got this clash going on. And now you see companies obviously saying, well, come back for 3 days a week, at least in the office and to work to. And of course, that spurred a whole nother frustration among workers to go, wait a minute, why are we coming back 3 days a week if we've been producing the way we have been? Is this an ego thing? Is this you just want to fill the desks? What's going on here, right?
I do. I think it goes right back to those beliefs. If I have the belief that you're not productive if you're not in this building, or I can't trust you if I can't see you, if that's true, it's going to trigger a lot. And the problem is, again, if that belief feels true to you, you want to hold on to it with everything you have. So going back to, it's so important that leaders are setting very clear expectations. If someone's meeting those expectations, then what really is the value? Sometimes I'm going to argue that being in the office actually hides inefficiencies. So sometimes the remote work will reveal inefficient processes and stuff, because if I were in the building, I could walk around the corner and talk to you, but that doesn't make it an efficient process.
That's right.
It helps kind of hide it. We have several clients who found effective ways to have both a hybrid and remote work. Yeah. And it's working really well for them. But it's required a lot of flexibility, very clear expectations, clear accountability, and both sides are happy. Yeah, they're getting great results, and their employees are engaged, and they have the flexibility that they want. It is possible to have the best of both worlds.
That's right. That's right. No question about it. I'm a stockholder and a board member of a family-owned company today that my son runs. And since COVID, they had all of their 50 associates work remotely, work from home. They've never been back in the office since. Well, they've doubled since then. They have doubled their top line revenue. The morale among the team is incredible. And they're now at 110 employees, not 50. So I'm not saying that it was all because of remote work, but I'm just saying I know firsthand that remote work can happen to be very productive, and you can hit all kinds of new levels.
You absolutely can. And it depends on what your deliverable is. Yep. And how you're hiring, how you're onboarding becomes even more important today. And how you are checking in with people. So if it is remote, maybe it's a little bit more of that checking in as you go. But again, if I know what winning looks like and I'm held accountable to that, then does it really matter if I'm doing that in the building or at the coffee shop? That's right.
That's right. No question about it. Dr. Sherry Yellen, thank you so much for once again joining us on the show. Very much appreciate it. I know that our viewers get a lot out of your visits with us. So thanks so much. Stay well until our next time together.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.